and it is the half-hour point. Oh, that means I need to start my video. Hey, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It is May the 12th, and I'm the first person to say to you, welcome, my friend Tim Thompson. Where in the world are you right now?
Yeah, Nick is calling me out. He's like, he loves how I don't do the same place twice. He might get bored after I arrive tomorrow. 22 days I've been on the road across the United States. It's been wonderful. And now I'm in what they call Bravo Land, which is right outside of Kettleman City in California, heading up I-5. It's a gorgeous day outside. It's so beautiful. This is the place we should all live, right underneath this blue sky right here.
Man, that's beautiful. Thanks for
Thanks
for sharing that crazy location and for strategically finding the open sign over your shoulder. So you and I, we have not yet recorded our Rev Thoughts episode where we're going to debate the whole, should we reopen? Should we stay at home? But obviously you're going to at least visually take the open stance.
Yeah, for sure. Well, to me, like I feel like I've lived a different experience over the last 3 weeks than the people that have, quarantined in the same location. And to talk to people, to be out, to see different locations handling it in different ways. There's a lot of activity still happening, and I'm some of my concern is that people are only seeing it for the little, the blinders that they've had on. So just have some adjustment of time and place and days. Where I am is still kind of quarantined. It's not like it's like the rest of California, but outside is fine. And I kind of just want to be outside and show people outside is healthy and good, and get out there and do things. So we will have a good conversation on that when we do our podcast.
Well, speaking of good conversation, Tim and I tried to have Dallas, our friend from De Facto Sound, come in and speak with us today. He apparently has some big deal he's working on. Busy. But look, I'm rocking the swag today, though. I got the 20,000 hertz tee on. So Dallas, thank you for sending that my way. I'm representing, even though you're not here. Tim, today, let's dive into this topic because we're going to cover some ground, perhaps introduce a concept that might be unfamiliar to some people, but this big question that I always had when I was running my creative firm and most every owner is asking is like, it's what we call the 2 a.m. issues. Why is it I still pop up in the middle of the night and say, oh, what about, and oh, I should have, and I need to remember to, and the question we posted on social about this episode was, when or how do I get past all the worrying in running my creative firm? And why in the world would that be relevant right now?
Yeah, I have to say, Joel, if we had index cards for all of our sayings, we'd have a pretty solid stack of different things we say. But the one that you land on our website is the best way to deal with the future is to create it. And the reason why we put that out there, and it's really like a solid belief we have, is that so much of what we need to do in order to be successful in life is to be proactive. We have to understand where we're going, what we're doing, what opportunities we have that we can leverage to get ourselves there. And then we have to have our act in order, right? We have to know that we've built the right systems, the routines, and kind of built this thing from the ground up so you can rest on it. So another one that I would kind of rest on today is like, he who does well with little, much will be given on to him. And I love that idea of like, it's really some of the most basic elements you need, the most basic systems and routines that you want to have in place in order to keep your company growing. But I love this vision of like, but self-managed. If you have a vision of self-managed, now you know why those systems, routines, practices are so important to what you're doing, because that self-management or letting go or leaving the worries behind you, all these things that we are hopeful for in our career, we can kind of achieve them.
So why would we bring this up now? Because my inner skeptic is saying, well, we're in this pandemic. I'm still just figuring out where things are going. Maybe things are a little bit quiet right now, but I feel like, maybe hopefully in a few weeks or a few months, it's going to be back to business and nose back to the grindstone. Why would anything need to be different?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have two strong convictions happening right now. One is that we know the rules are changing. There's going to be new opportunities. Joel, you shared with me that DigiDay, I think it was DigiDay, that article this morning about how agencies are going to deal with a new reality. there's just something new about ready to take place. And if you know what you're trying to accomplish, then the opportunity will present itself. But you have to be able to see it and know it first. And the thought of self-managed really goes back to my 4 stages of a creative career, where there's a moment after business ownership you have to be aware of. And then when it presents itself, you want to take advantage of it. And this new transition is going to be one of those moments. And some of us are going to be able to kind of jump on that wagon and ride it out. And for many of us, it'll be a career changer and a career opportunity and a career releaser. So letting go of these worries and be able to let systems and opportunities and management, or systems and routines manage these opportunities will be what allows us to kind of jump into that next stage of our career.
All right, so I would love to pick your brain about this, because I'm putting myself in the heads of people that are here and that are going to be listening to this later, and they say, okay, that sounds great. But you mentioned this thing called a career, right? Like I have this business that I run right now, and then there's this thing beyond that called I have a career. And then of course, beyond that, I have a life. But I would love for you to give us your theory of how do we even view this thing called a career? What are the big pieces? What are the big parts? And then help me understand, or help us understand, where are we on that journey?
Okay, great. So what I'll do, I'm going to just share my 4 stages of a creative career. And then I'd love to open it up for conversation too, because I know there's going to be like a tipping point that we all have to come to a reality of where we are in our career and what the real work it takes to get there. But let me just share my screen, and I'll put out there really what I believe are the essentials of having a creative career and the opportunities that the career gives us. So what these 4 stages represent really are the opportunity for us to grow and advance through the stages that we already are living out. And many of us have a vision or a sense of where we want to go, but I think we lose it along the way, especially when it comes to business ownership. The first stage is just the artist stage. It's the one we enter the career, our careers on. It's where we gain talent, leverage our skills, get that first job, and start to grow. Solopreneurs live in this stage a lot. They find more security in this stage. They rest on their ability and capabilities to get things done. So they kind of rest in this stage. But some of us advance beyond just the day rate or the hourly, the salary, and we want to kind of tackle something bigger. And that stage for me is this stage, the auteur stage. I say the auteur stage is where other people do the work, but you get credit for it. And I often use the idea of like a Steven Spielberg film. There are hundreds of people that make that film. Spielberg's name is the one that we use as the auteur to put it out there. Many of our clients, Joel, are right here. We're in this stage, and we've moved from artist to auteur. And it's this stage we believe is actually the end of our career. And I didn't know this at first. I thought the same, especially when I started consulting. It wasn't until our clients became successful auteurs that I realized they needed something else to do. Or in your case, Jill, you remember that you were in the auteur stage, and then when you were wondering what I should do next, the first thing you went to is maybe I should be an artist again. Now I'm going to go be a DP, and you were taking a step back. You remember that?
I remember it all too well. I mean, I had this inkling that there was more out there for me, but it wasn't until I started to take on a sense of community that I had an inkling that there was something further or bigger out there for me in the career.
Yeah, exactly right. That's what really happens is that we begin to gain leverage, especially when we have worked with people, hired them, helped them grow up, paid their taxes for them. There's so many parts of being a business owner that involve other people that we really start to grow in our ability to be part of a community and do hard work and generate community ideas. So this next step, like I say, you move from the A's to the C, and what the C represents is community. And almost like going backwards to the artist stage, we go to this next stage, which is a curator. And I think of this like a gallery owner, where there's a series of artists, but your job is to promote the artists. And then your gallery or your name or you as a curator also elevate as you elevate others. It's a very important time to kind of take advantage of that movement when the community shows up at your doorstep. And we want people to be recognizing that there's opportunities now I feel like we're going to leave behind if we don't take advantage of it now. And then just lastly is this last stage, which is the collector stage. And the collector is so rare. I mean, I might know 10 people tops that are doing this and doing this well. And the opportunity to be a collector is really, if you think about it, it's a person that goes to an auction, buys a piece of art for $1 million, and then hangs it on a wall of a gallery for free, or a wall of a museum for free, and then somehow gets paid for it. It has value to it. The everything is turned inside out when it comes to a collector, because you're really leveraging all value and all influence along the way. So let me just hit these first three again. The artist stage, what you're looking for and striving for often in that stage is fame. It's being known for who you are, your skill, what you're able of doing, and your name, it becomes important. The auteur stage, I say, is the seeking of fortune. So it's really when you start doing artist at scale, and you can grow and create other kind of value propositions. You get to collect the profits that's there. And the curator stage is freedom. So fame, fortune, and freedom, which I recognized early on was why we get in this business. We're looking for those three. This last stage is the influence stage. It's really the one where we take the accumulation of all of our career and work, and we are able to perpetuate ideas and thoughts and agendas and methods forward in the industry. So I love this as a structure because I believe most of us are trying to seek this out. But most important right now is that shift from the left side to the right side is very difficult. It's rare when people can do it. Most of our clients are in that auteur stage, and that's why we focus on the 7 ingredients so they can master the auteur stage. But right now, I believe specifically that the right side is the world just became flat, and that right side's available to more people. There's more opportunity to do things in the community, more opportunity to promote others, more opportunity to change the world and change the rules of the game. And we want people to take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's interesting, Tim, what you said about, my story. And I'm wondering if there's people here that can relate that during the pandemic, you get disrupted, revenue goes down, you start rethinking your business model. And some people do go backwards. And I don't know that that's wrong. I can't judge, right? Some people do go back to the artist season and they say, you know what, if it was just me and my business partner, and we had to just go back to basics, we could do this. But I will say something you said to me that I thought was very inspiring when you were encouraging me to move into consulting and join you, was you said, I think you can help the entire industry. And that's a really great story. I think that's the story that you want to tell. And I think that's just an interesting point for me to share. Is that something that you would also encourage owners out there right now that are wondering, well, do I want to go back to the artist stage, or do I want to try and move forward into this curator stage?
Yeah, so here's the feeling I think we all have inside, right? When you're in the auteur stage. And it's kind of come to an end, and it's been too many years or ups and downs or family issues. There's something that lets you know, like, that season's over, and it is. The season has to end for us. I believe it's a natural feeling, like you, Joel, to think, oh, I'm going to go back because I know so much. I can do it again so much easier. I'll be the best employee. I'll be the best freelancer. I can think for myself. But what you're not doing if you actually step right back into the same job is you're not taking it with you. You're actually going back to a position where someone else is the auteur, and they're going to kind of have some controls and mechanism over. It's really a step over, and it's a diagonal step because it's the same idea. Like, you're going to go back up to the top part of the quadrant, but you're going to move over to a community. And what you're going to do is not forget what you've learned. You're actually going to use your experience, your knowledge to promote others so that they continue to grow. You went directly into consulting. I mean, you went straight for other people. When you built Jumpstart, you're using it very literally, taking the ideas and thoughts and issues that you've learned and moving them forward. But a lot of us have opportunity that we can leverage forward in our career, and we start giving back to others. That's what I'm excited about, is that opportunity to grow the industry.
So help us, maybe give us a sense. I certainly have some thoughts too, but for people that are like, that sounds kind of cool. Like, freedom has always been a goal of mine. I've been in this sort of fortune stage right now, and maybe I don't feel very rich. what's the encouragement? Like, what's going to be possible as they make this transition? And then, of course, the next question that follows is, what are the pieces that we have to put in place? If an owner was saying, I want my business to be strong, I love this idea of self-managing, I love this idea of freedom, what are the pieces I need to put in place?
Yeah, so I think the reason why it's been difficult for people to do the transition to the right side is that the rules change. What you when you're kind of self-focused and you're myopic in your career, advancing, going to scale, and we have like scorecards like how many employees do I have? How much revenue did I generate? How many awards did I win? That's very like in the A categories. It's the me categories there. You have to be willing and able to change like your perspective, the rules, your scorecards to really understand the value of the right side. What happens on the right side is gigantic scale. And few people can see scale. We experience it, or we feel like there's lucky ones, like these famous billionaires, somehow they got lucky. But it's achievable for all of us if we can see it right. What I think happened right now in this kind of global shift is that everyone's willing to accept some new rules, right? We're all working from home using Zoom. Again, going back to the articles that you posted today, like agencies are kind of admitting and saying like, wow, we didn't need all those people on a live action set. We might not all need to fly to India to shoot a car commercial. Those dynamic shifts that are taking place in the industry allow us to recenter and kind of create new anchors that that might have been hard in the past, but people are open to new ideas post-pandemic. This is your moment to kind of sink your anchor in the ground and know where you're going to build your business from. And if you build it from a scale model or an other people model, then you have an opportunity to grow and take advantage of it. And honestly, you leave the worries behind because you're not going to rest on your own skills. The skills that slowly fade over life. We know what we need, like Joel, happy birthday, right? Those skills kind of slowly fade.
Careful.
I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. We were just talking about REM in college. So as those things scale, we have to find new leverage, and it has to be valuable to other people. And to create value for others, let them take your experience and grow and be able to use and leverage that. That's a gigantic opportunity. And the whole world is allowing it to take place. So if we can see ourselves post-pandemic as an opportunity, some of us really will take advantage of that.
All right, so now we can get practical. And let me just remind everyone, if you got a comment, if this is interesting, curious, maybe it's irritating, whatever, drop your comment or your question in here and let's tackle it. Because the question on my mind, Tim, is if I'm an owner right now, I'm more than likely saying, okay, great. But I just need sales. Like, I just need some projects and some cash to get through the next couple of months. So what you're saying, what? I don't get it, because you're the general who's so far ahead of me that I might mistake you for the enemy, and I've got you in my sights.
Yeah, let me give you this right here, because I just love this quote from Oscar Wilde. It's so kind of clever, and maybe I just relate to it because I often do kind of have that issue of wondering and kind of presenting what my thought is and how to get there. But look at this quote. It says, "What we want are unpractical people who see beyond the moment and think beyond the days. Those who try to lead the people, those who try to lead the people can only do so by following the mob." Oh, perfect quote for today. "It is through the voice of the one crying in the wilderness that the ways of the gods must be prepared." And I just love this quote because there's something happening right now that we know there's a mob mentality. There's a group of people, there's a mass media, there's some fear, there's some concern, but there's some genuine nature behind what we're doing. And leadership allows us to hear something beyond the moment. When I think of what I want people to kind of process practically at this point, is I want people to understand that with this reset, many of you might have felt something very hard a few weeks ago. You've laid off certain employees, or you've restructured deals. You probably rediscovered who the good clients are, the bad clients are. And you almost want to say like, I'm glad that's over. Let's just get back to normal. And I never want to deal with that again. But what some of you've done is actually relieved yourself from pressure. You've actually defined yourself for the better, and you've realized the partners and clients that are best to work with. Why not start there as a new baseline? Why not look at those as opportunities really to get more into freedom and create those qualifiers that you've been looking for business? That's what I'm looking at. I'm realizing someone that just laid off 7 people on staff and now there's just 3 of them realize they can do their business with 3 people today, and they might want to grow. But if you're going to keep score the old way, which is how many employees do you have, and the company with the most employees wins, you're just going to burden yourself again. If I said to you, like, wow, how much influence can you get with 3 or 4 people? You go like, well, Berkshire Hathaway has a half a dozen people, and they're one of the largest influential corporations on the planet. Like, how does that work? That they can have less people than most of our motion design companies controlling some of the largest wealth. They made different rules. They understood influence in a different way. And that's what we're looking for here. We're trying to like get to the other side of what those rules could be in a post-pandemic world, that your clients, your employees, your freelancers, the software companies will all be willing to engage you on a different level.
All right, so this is a great opportunity to remind everyone that there's going to be the train's leaving the station, right, a week from now, because we're going to take a group, we're going to really get down to brass tacks and say, okay, what are the pieces that we need to put in place so I can get beyond the worrying and start moving in the direction of this self-managing firm. So what are some of the practical pieces? Like, what are the actual ingredients we're going to focus on?
Yeah, so sure. So what we're trying to think about is, if you were a self-managed firm, what systems and routines do you need to have in place that you can reflect on your business, reflect on how other people are managing your projects, managing your staff, managing your finances. Other people are doing that, but you are as you are today. You have more ability to work on your company, not in your company, and you're able to grow business beyond the scale because the company generates work and generates talent by itself. That's what we're looking on. So if we were focusing on the 7 ingredients, we're clearly going for the production pipeline, finance, sales, and marketing, because those are where you're going to generate the work, qualify the leads, manage the projects, and manage the talent. Those are key aspects. And if you have the right systems and routines in place, you can delegate that key heavy burden to other people. When I first started consulting, I had a client that wanted to manage his business from a mountaintop. And so I wrote him some software so he could do it. And he honestly moved to Sausalito. He just lived in the house he wanted to, far away from his New York and LA office. And he was able to manage this business because he knew what he was looking for, and he can see the work others were doing for him. It's so brilliant that when you have that sense of freedom now in a world where other people are going to be burdened and held back, now you just advance yourself 2 or 3 or 4 steps beyond the competition, beyond your client, and you start growing and becoming a leader in the field. My saying here is, all ships rise and fall with the same tide. It's one thing to be a ship, it's the other to be the tide. And you want to be ahead of the curve. You don't want to be going up and down with the mob. You want to be thinking through the possibilities, opportunities, and that security that the business can manage itself and run itself. We want to lock in those 7 ingredients.
Well, I'm chuckling at Justin's comment here with all of his dollar signs. I can read all kinds of things into that, but I know Justin, he wants fame, fortune, freedom, not just one, he wants all 3. But I love that about him. But I think you're right, Tim. It's going to be fun to, I think, not only say, okay, what are some of the strategies that we've seen owners at their creative firms put them into place and create something that's repeatable, create some routines and systems that produce the results they're looking for, but also this sense of community. Like, how can I go through this process with one of my peers? And maybe I like this idea of even doing like breakout groups of, hey, go study this concept, absorb this material, do your brainstorm, and come back to the larger group and, in a sense, publish your findings. And then let's all work on what you've discovered together and apply it. So there's going to be some, I think, very fun discoveries that come. It's because it's not just you and I doling out, hey, go do this and hey, go do that. There's going to be a genuine, I think, inquiry and discovery into here are some big ideas and principles. Now, how do you apply them? That's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah, if you're going to be part of the community building side, the right-hand side of your career, you have to learn how to listen. There has to be something that you're recognizing patterns of other people's thoughts, questions and concerns that people have. Put your entrepreneurial mind at work, right? So one of the greatest things we do is cohort dinners, which obviously are going to be on pause for a little while. But we know that those dinners are so dynamic. Just having 8 to 10, 12 people top sitting at a table and talking about a conversation, it's energetic, it's thoughtful, it's eye-opening. So to be able to cluster in with other business owners and be able to have that dialogue, especially when it comes to the same mindset that you're going to have of how do I challenge myself to grow in my career? How do I hear the new problems that are presenting themselves and getting out of your echo chamber? It's amazing. So I know we're still kind of cherry picking these ideas that we were talking about and putting them together into one pipeline. But this is a unique moment that we need people to get on board and recognize it and really not miss this moment. I have this feeling like 5, 6, 7 months are going to separate the sheep and the goat a lot. They're going to be people that are going to be on one end of the wave or the other end of the wave.
And by the way, I'm glad you mentioned cohort, because that could be, I think there's going to be a moment where we will actually have some sort of a virtual dinner or cocktail or whatever it is, and bring all those owners back together again. Justin, I'm thinking of you, and you've been such a great supporter of when we've done those in New York. But that's an example of community where owners can come together and really process together. And then the idea of, okay, now we've talked, we've had great conversation, but now let's actually start to methodically, systematically put the pieces in place. And that's, I think, what you and I are excited to do in this new accelerator once we figure out whatever we're calling it.
Well, I've been thinking about the latest stuff we've been doing in your confab group, where we've been introducing the factors method to people, introducing them, showing them some of the modules we have in our CreOS software, and then that common language that they now have of like what a roll-up does, what a factors report does, how a cashboard works, and be able to have some common knowledge. Now, when they're expressing and sharing thoughts and they're wondering gains and losses, they have the same language that they're exchanging with each other. And then that group kind of lifts each other up, don't they? They all kind of know something together. And now they can talk about a sales pipeline, understand how that plugs into a cashboard model, and then they can ask really quick questions. I watched their Slack channel, and they're becoming more and more efficient when it comes to sharing ideas because they're all on the same page. You just can't beat that kind of group knowledge or think tank knowledge that happens.
Yeah, it's a good moonshot. I'm looking at my notes from what we're going to cover in confab. By the way, that's tomorrow, Tim. So we need to make sure we're ready.
I got to finish my drive to Oregon.
Yeah, exactly. But this, maybe it's a moonshot for some owners, because the idea that you can have visibility, right? The idea that you can regain control, and the idea that you can collapse decision-making so that it's not this infinite chatter that's just always going on every hour of every minute of every day in regarding to production, how you're taking care of jobs, how your team is getting things done. I mean, there's really, those things all really roll up under the broad banner of what I would call freedom. And this is why we tackle all these ingredients in that auteur stage.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like a lot of people don't comprehend it because it's not a very common practice in our industry. But also it feels like it's kind of overnight success. But what they don't realize is since 1994, I've been writing software. I built the software for the Oscars when I worked on the Oscars. When I went to Trailer Park, I built their entire operations software. Imaginary Forces, I institutionalized what they called IF only or if only in the company. There's so many times I've handled these decision makings throughout my entire career. And then when I started RevThink, the number of times and the amount of companies we've worked with, we really have gone beyond the learning curve and implemented the best practices and policies with our clients. Here's what I know: you actually have to solidify that portion of your career. Like those 7 ingredients, you have to master them in order to stay up on top of that auteur stage to get to the next stage, and that to clean up that act and have it ready to go, so that when the opportunity comes, you can jump into the next season. That's what I don't want people to kind of let this just fade back and be concerned and hold on to their worries and not realize that there's a gigantic new wave of opportunity coming.
Well, you just reminded me, one thing we owe each other is, and the people that go through this 8 weeks with us, is we should also walk them through. Do you remember the dashboard that you created of sort of the before and after? Here are these creative firms that put in these systems and routines that we collectively called CreOS and this factors method, and just seeing the difference of, hey, they grew this much, they generated this much profit, and of course those are good things. The thing that's intangible is how much freedom did that owner experience in going through that process. Like they actually grew, they became busier, more profitable, but the owner actually got back his or her life and wasn't just worrying all the time. That would be fun to share with folks, because I know when they see those real numbers and they see actual companies on that list, they say, okay, I don't know the name of that company, but wow, look at this is possible. Like others have done this, I can do it too.
Yeah, and we use the word freedom, but what we really mean is like life success and career success, right? It's success beyond the regular scorecard of a business. And to know that we actually wanted to achieve something in life of influence, we wanted to participate in other ideas. Like what we love about Joey's life story about with School of Motion is that he let go of the auteur to build up others, right? Like Joey's one of those that like, when he let go of one set of rules and created a different set of rules, scale was possible, leverage was possible, influence is possible, and other people's lives are enriched because he didn't let go of what he knows. That's so amazing. Opposed to, imagine if Joey said, I'm just going to become a 3D artist. I'm done. I'm just going to jump back in 3D bars. So we want people to know what's possible. And that's what we mean by freedom, is freedom from the current set of rules into something else of why we actually got into our career to begin with.
Man, I think we have talked people's heads off today. So
I know.
I think it's because you and I are so jazzed about this stuff. We can kind of go nonstop. So if you did have a question or a comment and you thought, oh, I'm not going to interrupt these guys, they're on a roll, my apologies. But it has been good to walk through this. And Tim, thank you for sharing the 4 stages. Again, I think that's such a cool concept. And it's like that journey that we're all on, but we may not see it because we live day to day, right? We're down in the trees. We can't see the whole forest. So I'm glad you got to walk through that. We should wrap it up though. So Tim, any final comments before I share a few little notes and share a couple cool things about our friends here in the audience?
Sure. Here's my last thoughts. It's hard to express how much we truly love doing the jobs that we do and appreciate all of you being part of what we're doing here at RevThink, joining us for the daily briefings and participating in the Slack channels. There's so much that we listen to or take part of and take to heart. So we can't be who we are without you. And we want you to know that we do strive so that you can thrive in your business and life and career. It means so much to us to be able to do that for you. So thanks for letting us be part of all we're doing and letting us share this.
Yeah, totally. Amen. Well, let's do this. We'll adjourn for today. We're 3 minutes over our half-hour slot. I'm going to share 2 quick little blurbs. One is, for those of you that have been to one of our cohort gatherings, dinner or cocktail or whatever, we are working on a little reunion. Despite this nasty thing we're in called a pandemic, I want to do a global event and get all of you that have attended one previously on a Zoom, and we're just gonna mix it up. And then, so I posted a link there. You can check that out. I would just love your thoughts, your feedback, ideas. If you've seen something, you have some suggestions. And then lastly, I want to celebrate a really cool article, Tim, that you found from our friend and client Kendra at Andor. This article, I was like, yes,
isn't she
Kendra,
great?
this is so awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, Kendra's she's a brilliant writer and creative mind, but I just love this thinking being applied to how do we answer the question in a different way other than pandering and being lame and saying the same things that everyone else is saying. So I just posted that. Also, I'll share these inside 7 ingredients on Slack as well, so folks can check those out there. All right, Tim, from where in the world are you again? Give us a peace out.
We'll say Kettleman City. Peace out from Kettleman City. I'll see you tomorrow in actually my home in Oregon. So it's been great being on this road trip with you all.
Love it. All right, well, safe travels out there. Thanks everyone for being here today on our daily briefing as we slowly wind down this wild and crazy journey we've been on with you. And we'll see you tomorrow And Tim, I think we're gonna have a guest tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to. I don't know if it's going to be Marcel or Dallas, but we're going to have somebody fun sharing some thoughts on where we go from here. So until then, thanks for being here, everyone. I'm Joel. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, Tim.
Bye-bye.